Hiya, folks. Welcome back.
G'day, g'day, g'day.
Episode 6 of Cut the Fluff. Oh, wow. We're one over the half century point now. No, not century, decade. God. We're in for a treat.
Oh, my brain.
I am currently doing a water fast in the hope to assist my skin and the issues that I've been having with it. So, yeah, there might be some slip ups on words and thoughts.
Some common side effects include brain fog and lack of clarity.
And then just add a pandemic into the mix and, just left
Always
full of mess.
sprinkle a pandemic.
Oh, mate, I was interested in having a discussion with you around whether you believe that we are fooling ourselves into believing that the person that you choose to partner up with, if you choose to go down that route, is someone that is meant to be everything to you and tick absolutely every box that the fairy tales out there have sold us.
Good question. Yeah, they totally should, because we're perfect and we obviously tick that box. So I would expect nothing less than the same from my partner. End of story. Next question.
Am I sensing sarcasm in the undertone there?
Of course. I mean, I think the hope is that the hope and the delusion is that we're all out there searching for the perfect person, the unicorn. And do they exist? Like, do people have that person? Or are they lying?
That's what I've always wondered. I'm like, okay, 9 out of 10 boxes are ticked. Is there genuinely someone out there that exists that's the 10 out of 10 box, or are we being fooled into thinking that?
I'd like to think we're all being fooled, because then we're all in it together.
Yeah.
And then isn't that good old tall poppy syndrome? Like pull you down so we're all on a equal playing field.
Yeah.
Look, I think that, okay, I've been watching The Bachelor. I'm not proud of it, but it was like dirty habit I had in lockdown recently, parenting solo, and like just had no capacity for like self-growth and documentaries and like extra learning, getting the edge after hours. And so I love free to air TV now, it seems. And Bachelor is my jam. And I've watched the romance flourish between Jimmy and Holly. I'm just following it with intrigue, because I follow them on Instagram now, like a fangirl. And I'm like, there's a part of me that's like, yeah, but is it real? Like, was that all just for the camera? What's really going on behind the scenes? And of course, yeah, bullshit. Like, of course, Instagram's not going to present real life. Like, it's highlight reels, they're giggling, they're having fun, they're moving into their new pad together, which is so cute. And I think they genuinely are in love from all accounts, from all the tabloids.
What we're being fed, yes.
But I do know this to be true in my experience. And I think it's okay to come to terms with the fact that, like, there is a 2-year period when you get together with someone. They call it the honeymoon phase. And I remember reading Bruce Lipton's book called The Honeymoon Effect, and other people giving reference to this idea that, like, for the first 2 years, it's foggy. All you see are like, you just have eyes for that person, and everything they do, from like picking their nose to fight, like you don't even see it. And it's so, like, absolute blinders on, like, this is the perfect person. And then something mysterious happens after 2 years. That fog starts to lift and it becomes clearer. And you're like, oh my God, this person is a pig. And they're this and then that. Like, how have I lived with this? And that is when the honeymoon phase is slowly coming to an end. And I think that is where it makes or breaks a relationship. And I'm sure you've had experiences too of, like, you get to that 2-year mark or before or after, it's just an arbitrary marker of time. But the fireworks go out and you start to get into the nitty-gritty of like, oh, what's really holding this together?
Yeah.
Like in the beginning, it was great fucking sex and romance and hanging out together. But then what is it that keeps you together and keeps you staying in that partnership after the clouds lift? And to your point, can they be all things? And my question is, were they all things to you in that 2-year period? Like when you say all things, what do you say like best friend?
Your best friend, your hiking buddy, your yoga buddy, like your confidant, your not psychiatrist, but like psychologist. At the end of the day, are they meant to be all those things to you, or are there elements that it's okay to outsource, whether that be, in my case, it's not a huge outdoors person. I hope he's okay with me, not me throwing him under the bus here, but he's not a huge outdoors person. And he doesn't really like going out for hikes. So I have a particular group of friends that I call on, and I kind of tick that box externally outside of the relationship. So that's kind of one example. But yeah, I think that whole honeymoon effect thing that you've just been discussing, it's really fascinating in a time that we live in where everything's so disposable in the sense of Tinder and all the platforms, and it's just this rinse and repeat. And I think the addiction of the honeymoon phase, when things kind of start to dwindle, and it does take work. Whoever said that it doesn't take time, investment, dedication to actually putting aside time in your schedule to spending one-on-one time with this individual.
Esther Perel talks about desire versus safety, like the two forces of polarity.
I think that was perfectly portrayed actually by what's that new Netflix series? Is it Sex Life?
Yeah.
Where she had the safety and, the ideal kind of family unit with one partner who offered security, etc. But then this kind of lustful sexual relationship with the opposite. And it's kind of like, do you give one up for the other? Or is it possible to have both within the one relationship?
So we're going to go into desire versus safety.
Okay.
Talk about Sex Life. Esther Perel, she's got a recipe on how to have the two.
Yep.
And maybe like examples in your relationship where you felt the desire come back, one where you've lost it.
I find myself in an interesting position at the moment, and I don't think many women talk about this. After coming off the pill, and particularly when I was on the pill, I started experiencing a really big shift in my libido. And since coming off the pill, I have had several blood tests which have shown that I'm considered premenopausal. And I am working with specialists, etc., to work through all of that, but has made my ability to get turned on very difficult. Like I have no interest in sex whatsoever. And I mean to the point of pleasuring myself, which I sometimes like force upon myself to like try and stimulate. I literally like the other day, kid you not, the other day, I was like, I was going to do 20 days in a row. I was like 5 days. I got 5 days in and I was like, this is torture. I can't there's no enjoyment to this. And I started thinking to myself, I'm like, is it Ahmed and I? And I kind of look around and I'm like, male, female, I'm just not interested in anyone. And then, you obviously go down different avenues to try and create some form of stimulation, but I just have none. Like I literally have none. And I feel robbed is the best way that I can describe. Like I feel absolutely robbed. Firstly, I have no mojo. Secondly, I don't feel feminine. Like I know feminine is a mindset, but I feel like I've had it stripped away from me and I'm angry. And so that's where I'm at. That's
Ooh. Yeah. I can see you're probably feeling robbed. That's our birthright.
Mate, I want my mojo back.
I want my
I'm so
sex life
high
back.
and freaking low for it.
Mm. So backtrack a little bit. You were feeling it when you were on the pill, and you've noticed the minute you came off the pill, libido went down, or was it a slow burn, or was it pretty night and day?
It was a slow progression. I remember coming onto the pill probably a couple of years in. I started to kind of be like, ugh, like this feels weird. And then I came off the pill. And since coming off the pill, it's like day and night, like just no kind of interest in anything. And I'm kind of like, am I asexual, just someone that's not interested in sex? Or am I just so hormonally imbalanced? Because I do get like these little glimmers of hope, like whenever my, ovaries or whatever's
A
going
little
on,
flutter.
it's like, and then
Yeah.
it's like once in a blue moon, I'm like, oh, there you are. Hello, welcome back. Like, you are welcome here.
Yeah. What are the flutters? So when do you notice, ovaries like
Well, I'm
open?
still trying to I'm waiting on my thermometer. So I'm going to actually start, even though I don't have a period, I'm actually going to start tracking my body temperature to see if there's actually a change in my like the luteinizing hormone and my body temperature to figure out when I'm actually ovulating. Because as we discussed, even though I don't have a period, I still can tell that I'm very much cyclical. And in the 20s, I must be somewhere around ovulation because I'm feeling more myself and, kind of more bubbly and outgoing, etc. Whereas, the 14th of the month is pretty.
Don't come near me.
Don't
Touch me.
Doomsday.
Fascinating. So even though you don't have a period, you still notice the ebb and flow of like when you technically should be ovulating. Those are the times when you feel more up for it, more feminine and more open and
Just kind of more in tune and like in the body. But nowhere near as like I used to be a fucking raging like like it's day and night, mate. Like like I really used to be into it, and now I'm just like okay, is this it?
Yeah. I don't think you're alone. I think people are probably listening going, that is me. And like I'm right there with you with the ebb and the flow and the feeling robbed. Like I know the feeling I used to have. I know what it can feel like of like the throwdown, wanting to just rip some clothes off.
Is that just something that happens with age?
I fucking hope not. No, I do not subscribe to
because
that.
you then see those movies where like the women like, what movie was that? Is it like American Pie or something where the parents are really like getting it on in their 50s, 60s, 70s? Like, I hope to be that person.
I want that. I used to be disgusted by that as a teenager and a girl. Now I'm like, that's hot.
Yeah, mate.
I want that. Well, what are the ways that you could get it back, like game the system? Obviously the thermometer and like tracking your cycle sounds like a good plan, but what are the hacks? Like what have you heard to trick your body into going, ooh, I feel sexy and feminine, and not necessarily like I'm up for sex right now, but just feeling more, in your flow, feeling feminine, floaty. And I know for a fact that when I've had days when I feel really feminine and like luscious and expansive and open and in that space, I do generally feel more up for it. But it doesn't have to just be about sex. I'm like, I have better ideas, I have better conversations and connections with people, and I just feel good. Like I feel in my skin. I feel really aligned.
Yeah.
And so I think sex and like sexual energy is such a good vehicle to just getting back into our bodies and our like natural flow of who we are.
Yeah.
So I wonder, it'd be cool to explore what are the ways you can do that. Like if we know that the mind is everything, how do you trick your mind into it? Or are there things that you can do with your body and your environment to stimulate that and sort of fake it till you make it, until suddenly you wake up one day, you're like, oh, so sexual.
I personally, there's a couple of techniques. One, I need to be in a calm state. So I find just breathing or any form of meditation generally allows my nervous system to be like, okay, we're at a state now where we're kind of happy to even consider going down that route. So that's one. Two is I find I have this really, actually, I'm going to grab it. I have this really gorgeous.
She's going to go get her sexy robe, people. I'll return.
I might sit in the robe, but it's like it's a beautiful kimono, like silky kimono. So like wearing.
Open the kimono now.
Yeah, I'm just gonna put it on now.
This is live. Let's real time it.
So I like wearing like nice lacy things.
Or a little trim.
Yeah, I have like friends that have discussed even like doing things to yourself in front of a mirror. And like I've previously done yoga nude, and I found that quite like trying to embrace the body and get comfortable with it.
Yeah,
I don't know, like, candles always help. I find that like just touch, I'm a huge person on touch. So rather than going straight into an act of any sort, just like, touch.
definitely. I went to a not a sex party, but a dinner that was centered around the conversation of sex. And there was a sex therapist and coach who led the discussion. This is in LA, of course. And she came with her tools and her bondage things. And but before she even got to that and like opened her suitcase and bag of tricks, she really just laid the tracks for kind of this. Like you can't go into your handcuffs and your whips and all of that. It's too much of a leap. If we're feeling like sex is shut down, there's no sexual energy pumping through my veins right now, to that's too much. And so she's like, girls, you have to like warm up to it. Like just start moving differently. Like when you're doing the dishes, stop doing it with such a masculine energy of like, got to get this done, got to move on to the next thing, got to like hustle. It's like, there's no hustling with your femininity. There's like,
oh, I like that.
It really stuck with me. And she's like, okay, so when you're filling up the sink, ladies, could you like make the water temperature really could you put a few bubbles in there and like, ooh, I like the way the bubbles feel on my skin, and like feel every sense come alive. And I was like, whoa, I'm feeling kind of turned on just talking about doing the dishes. And it kind of, it expands out across like, ooh, I'm hanging up the laundry. Like, how can I do this with more femininity and more grace and flow than just like, putting on the pegs, I'm doing this. And I have to say, like, from personal experience, it's a mood shift, and I feel the sexual energy coming back in, and I feel myself like loosening up a bit more and feeling more feminine. And then you're at the next junction where you're like, maybe we could explore what's in the bag of tricks.
Yeah. And it is that embodiment. Like there's one thing thinking about it, but then the connection between thinking about it and actually it coming to life, it's trying to embody an element of what femininity feels or looks like for you, because it's so different for everyone, and kind of finding what works for you, whether that's, beautiful materials or, just the way you move, or maybe even a scent, or just that little element, just to kind of tie in and kind of get you into the space of potentially even considering that next step if you want to go there. But
I want to go there.
Yeah. And like, even like from creative energy, and I feel like it's all kind of that sacral root chakra. That's what it's all about. And
Totally.
I'm
That's
just
so true. Like, sexual energy only leads to good things, whether it leads you down the track of having mind-blowing sex or birthing your biggest creative idea, or like having the confidence to step up and do something you've been putting off. Only good things can come from having your sexual energy charged up. And there's a magnetism to it, don't you think? Like, you can walk into a room and you're like,
amen.
something so attractive about that person. What is it? It's like they exude this energy. And
Absolutely.
it's etheric, you can't touch it, but you know it when you see it.
It's a magnet. It really is. When you walk into a space, you're like sucked in by it.
So attractive. I grew up in a house where sex was not talked about openly. Like, it was from Dolly magazine. One day I distinctly remember mum coming home with a Dimmicks shopping bag, and she pulled out a book, and it was about puberty, and she just like left it on the kitchen bench and walked away. And that was that's your sexual education. Like, read that. And I don't know if she followed up with my sister, because she's older, to like troubleshoot field questions, but it was just like a very unspoken thing. Like, you knew that you were going to one day be sexual, but it was not talked about. And especially self-pleasure. So uncomfortable, even now in my 30s, to be like, we should be self-pleasuring a lot. Like, that's normal.
There's so much guilt. Like, I grew up in a Catholic family, and so much guilt and shame around sexuality. Oh my God. There was one point in my early life as well where I thought that I was into girls, and the shame that I felt going to school every single day, and because I went to a Saturday school in the Catholic Church, I was just like, I'm going to hell. I grew up, like, we grew up in an environment where, like, oh my God, I don't know if this is too much oversharing, but like, to the point where one of my family members would not touch their penis while peeing because they were told that it was a sin by my grandmother. I don't know if I'll share that, but like,
we're keeping that in. But I'm like, oh, this is all the undoing we have to do of like the conditioning of, it's not safe to touch yourself, it's not safe to be touched, or like shedding all of that shit, which says sexuality is dirty, and embracing it. And I'm still on the journey of like, it's okay to like self-pleasure and feel good.
Yeah, and it's considered self-care at the end of the day, if it's something that you truly enjoy. But I think there is so much stigma in the mind that's associated with it, particularly if you grew up in a shameful environment where it was perceived as shameful.
I'm just thinking of a story which I can't share on air, but I'll share to you after. I have a question around self-pleasure and that being part of self-care. And so if you're in a partnership, the level of self-care, self-pleasure, how does that fit in with your sexual activity with your partner? Like, do you keep them separate? Do you drop one? Like, do you drop self-pleasure if you're engaged in a sexual relationship? The reason I ask is because I've always wondered if there Like if you should feel guilty for self-pleasuring, if you've got a partner there who's like, why don't you engage to have sex with me? Why are you doing that on your own? Or is it healthy to have the two going in parallel or like intermixed? But should you always be keeping the self-pleasure alive? Discuss.
I think so. I think that both, like, I think they should be running parallel, because one, I don't think I can keep up with the demand of how much is needed in one department. So I would hope that that's kept up from that perspective with
your partner. So sex
partner.
with your partner.
Yeah. So like for me personally, I don't feel like I can keep up with the demand. So I'd hope he's keeping that alive for himself as an option. I'd like I pray. Whereas like with me, I would hope that I could keep it alive as well, because I know there are many dynamics out there where like it's said that it shouldn't happen, but if it's part of the self-care equation, if it brings you joy, and I don't think it's selfish wanting to keep that energy and that space to yourself sometimes and not actually have to give outwards. It's more an opportunity for you to give to yourself. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, that feels like a healthy response. Because I know
like, what is a healthy response in this realm? It's just providing our 2 cents worth, my friend.
I know. And I can only go off experience of like, well, okay, what if your partner was home and you wake up horny as hell and they're like off doing something and it's available to you if you like, if you hollered. But, you know, in that moment, it's just like you in bed and you want to take care of that yourself. Is that selfish, or are you letting the partnership down in any way, or is that like
I reckon they would find it hilarious if they were to walk back in the room and find that playing out. I'd be like, oh yeah, is that what you get up to, huh?
I don't know, this is gonna go live, but I love it. These are the taboo topics that don't get talked about, and even just the reframing of it being self-care, the way that we wash our hair, we get our nails done, we do yoga, we meditate. We're just one other piece of the puzzle, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Indeed, my friend. Really is.
And that's that done.
That's that done. I'm just trying to think, like, when it comes to, I feel like that was such a disjointed conversation though.
Just then? Oh, I loved it. That was hilarious.
No. I mean, from like the opening to jumping to that topic.
I thought it was good. Did you like where it went? Is it too racy?
I probably have to edit it to kind of figure out how that's actually going to flow, because we went from discussing whether your partner can be everything to you to me talking about my mojo.
I think we start it from mojo.
Okay.
I think we now just create an intro.
Okay.
And then you just cut straight to mojo chat. Get rid of all the village stuff.
The village stuff.
We didn't talk about the village, but like partner being all things, honeymoon effect, all of that. Yeah.
Yep.
Or no?
Sure. So I'll do an intro. 1 second. And then we probably do need to do an outro as well.
How are we tying a bow on this sex chat? What's our takeaway? What have we discussed? I need a glass of water.
We are not doing well at this today.
But I have to say, talking about sex and sexual energy, did you feel a shift inside?
Yeah.
Yeah. I might need to go have a go. I'm like a bit hot and bothered. Make love to myself.
I feel like that's how this episode should end.
My giant jar of lube under my microphone. I just need to go take care of business.
Oh my God.
If a colleague or
how this episode is ending. Anika with a giant jar of coconut oil.
Wow, this is really breaking down identities for me. This is good. I'm feeling it all.
Pushing new limits, and then we'll be like second guessing whether we want to put this episode out there the whole way until it's launched out in the world. Oh, goodness me.
That digital footprint. Sticky.
Come to bite us in the ass one day, but you know what?
Here for it.
Oh my God.
So fun. You're going to have so much fun editing this.
Oh, my face hurts from laughing. So I'm going to start this episode, but it's going to be back to front and we'll let them know.
Okay.
So, are we happy to wrap that up?
Healthy over here.
Joelle.
All right. Cool. I don't know. Yeah,
I feel like that was an absolute dog's breakfast, but it's going to be hilarious to edit.
Yeah. Cool. They're always fun. Always a pleasure.
Now go pleasure yourself.
Do you have any bondage toys?
No, I don't. Because Amit's not really into like bondage style stuff.
Not into the whips and the...
No, because like I've been with partners previously that have been into like the more like harder stuff. And like I had one partner that actually had a foot fetish. Which was it wasn't like what you actually envisioned. It was really fascinating because I then discovered that like 1 in 7 males have a foot fetish. So it's actually more common than you think. So
like wants you to stroke it, lick it, suck it.
Well, no, all he liked was really nicely manicured feet, and he liked feet in heels, but otherwise like nothing to do with it like sexually. It was more of it was really fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you have any bondage toys yourself?
No, I have no equipment, not on the self-pleasure front or...
No equipment on the self-pleasure front?
No.
Not even a sex toy?
Nothing.
Girl, we need to get you one.
This is what I'm saying. Like that was a big step for me to even talk about that on fucking air.
We need to get you one. We need to get you a sex toy. I've got a sex toy.
What have you got?
I've got a
You're like, I've got a sex toy. I'll send it to you. I'm not using it anymore.
I've just got like a dildo with a clit tickler on the front of it. Actually, Ahmed and I were just talking about. So we ordered some lingerie 2 days ago, and I just received an update this morning that it's being sent our way. But we're going to buy another sex toy. So I'm going to buy another sex toy. But yeah, like I like using sex toys in bed.
Yeah, we've not. So what would you use?
Like a stimulation of the clit.
Maybe I'll surprise Joelle when he comes back.
Do you think he'd be open to it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He also grew up Catholic.
Okay.
So
you want to stop recording?
Yeah. Save your editing.
Hold on. Hi, folks. Welcome to episode 6 of Cut the Fluff. We've kind of gone back to front. So I am now wearing a silk kimono, and all of it will make sense in the next couple of minutes. But we jumped straight into this one. We started recording, and then we ended up having kind of a side convo, which we've now decided to bring to the forefront for this particular episode. And it's all to do with sex drive, mojo, pleasure, and just whether it's considered self-care, and I guess the guilt and shame a lot of us have felt around it growing up. So yeah,
Enjoy.
Enjoy, folks. Enjoy.